behalf of the state, Ron O'Brien and Joseph Gibson.
Counsel?
The government can prove otherwise, and also given this absolute lack of prior contact, ISIS, those are all terms of art, but in this case we know specifically from our conversation.
American citizen will be charged in a Columbus, Ohio courtroom in a few hours in an alleged terrorist plot. He is accused of planning to kill other Americans under orders from overseas.
Prosecutors say the suspect trained with Islamic militants in Syria and was then told to return to the U.S. and commit acts of terrorism. David Martin is at the Pentagon with details of the indictment. David, good morning.
Good morning. Abdi Rahman Sheikh Mohammed allegedly said he wanted to kill Americans, especially members of the armed forces, police officers, or anyone wearing a uniform. According to the indictment, Mohammed, a 23-year-old naturalized American citizen from Somalia, said he wanted to go to a military base in Texas and kill 3 or 4 soldiers execution style. His backup plan was allegedly to attack a prison, although he was still trying to recruit a second person for his plot when he was arrested. The indictment alleges Mohammed traveled to Syria 1 year ago, flying to Turkey and then crossing the border to join his brother, who was already fighting for the radical Islamic group called al-Nusra. In Syria, he received training in weapons, explosives, breaking and entering, and hand-to-hand combat. But before he could get to the front lines, Mohammed was recruited by a cleric to return to the U.S. to carry out an attack.
This case shows you how much the world of counterterrorism is changing.
Philip Mudd is a former FBI agent and author of the book The Head Game. He says the trip to Syria made Mohammed more of a threat than the typical homegrown terrorist.
The concern you've got to have in this case is not only that somebody came home again after traveling overseas to fight, but what kind of sophistication or training might people like this have received overseas.
Counsel?
Mohammed was arrested last February on state charges in Ohio and held on $1 million bail so he could not flee the country while the Justice Department prepared federal charges against him.
The intelligence game is halfway through here. That is the game that allowed us to find him and maybe map his network. There's a second half of this intelligence game we got to look at. Does he tell you something that gives you clues that you weren't aware of before?
Mohammed is scheduled to appear in court this morning in Columbus, Ohio, and his attorney says he will plead not guilty. If convicted, Mohammed faces a maximum sentence of 38 years in prison. Benita?
David, thank you.